Hey there, YouTube friends. Today we're building a tall wizard tower in the middle of a meadow in the wonderful and new game Tiny Glade. I'm maskedbandit. Thanks so much for being here. Let's get going. Today, like I said, we're building a wizard tower in the middle of a meadow. Very cliche, I know. But sometimes cliches are exactly what you need in situations like this. We're going to be using lots and lots of cylinders to build this tower. In fact, almost exclusively cylinders to build this tower. We are also, which is kind of exciting, going to be reaching the maximum height of a build in Tiny Glade, which I didn't know was a thing. I wanted to kind of see when I started just how tall we could make this structure, and it's pretty tall. It's so tall, you can see the curvature of the map. So that's kind of fun that is even included. We'll be decorating and thinking creatively as we add our details, thinking about what this tower is and why it exists. So what is Tiny Glade? Well, Tiny Glade is more of a tool than a game. I'm sure you've seen it all over your channel. If you're watching me, most of the people I know that I like to watch are also playing Tiny Glade. Yeah, it's a bit more of a tool though. There's no game involved here. It is just a designing tool. You can build single structures like we're doing here today, or you can build entire towns like my friend Jonty over at Geekism is doing. He's doing a fantastic job. A lot of people on Bro Nation are experimenting with this game and yielding fantastic results. The game works by procedurally generating the details and how the buildings all interact with each other. It's pretty straightforward. There's tons of flexibility as far as how you can nest buildings, and people are doing some really crazy things with this game. They are going above and beyond probably what even the developers thought, I bet. It's really exciting to watch new techniques come out. This is the fun with new games, watching people kind of break them and find new ways to play. I'm excited about that for Planet Coaster 2, honestly, how we're going to be able to do things that the developers never thought of. But this isn't that kind of build. This is a much more straightforward build where we're basically using the tools as intended. There are no major hacks here. Right now, after the main tower structure is built, we're going ahead and we're adding on some little annexes, some little spaces. With this tower being so narrow, I thought it would make sense to have some places for bedrooms or studies, or maybe even a place to prepare meals, a kitchen or something like that. This game is so easy to just pick up and design. You really have a lot of freedom. And I find it to be a great way to relieve stress. When you don't have time to sit down and play a more involved game, just 20 minutes of Tiny Glade is really nice to get that creative energy out at the end of a long day. If you're enjoying this video and what we're building here on the screen, please consider liking the video and subscribing if this is your first visit. We've got all kinds of great content on this channel where we build and create, and we've been growing regularly for the last several months, and I'd love to see that continue, so help us out. Like the video, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill. The main reason I'm a big fan of this game is my love of fantasy. I've been playing D&D for about 5 years now. We've had a running Wednesday group that's been going for that long. We just finished a campaign this summer. I've been DMing for almost as long. I love Lord of the Rings. I love this whole vibe. So so this lends perfectly, Tiny Glade lends perfectly into the high fantasy design. And if you aren't familiar with high fantasy is wizards and elves and magic and gods and all kinds of great things like that. Basically, if you've ever played D&D in the Forgotten Realms in Faerun, that is a high magic setting. High fantasy is magic is pervasive. Everyone knows about magic. It's not a secret, and there are lots of magic users. And how does that shape your world? And how does that shape our story? So as we're building here, the things I'm thinking about are, who is this person? Who lives in this tower? Why here? What's going on around in the meadow? And what kind of story could I tell with this tower if I use this as a location in my D&D campaign? And so as I was building, I was thinking of stories, and while I originally had intended to actually write a whole short story for this video, I don't think that makes the most sense. I'm not a writer as much as I wish I was. I love to write, but I don't think I feel 100% comfortable sharing that publicly. At least not right now. And I also didn't want to spend the extra time to have to figure out a story and make it sound good. So I jotted down some notes, kind of as I was building here, about who this person is and what kind of story might be here. And so I think, as we put some flowers in, as I was putting the flowers in, I was thinking, what are these? Are these magical components for potions? Are they a dedication? Or are they just there to look pretty? Did the wizard even plant them here? And that got my mind thinking. And so our wizard that lives in this tower, his name is Arlo. And one of the other things that really made me think about what's going on are these lovely little sheep that you just can't get rid of. Not that I would want to. They're awesome. Why are there sheep in the meadow? Well, these sheep hold a dark secret. Every day when Arlo wakes up, he cleans his tower from top to bottom using his gnarled wooden wand and his even more gnarled staff with an emerald inset, and the emerald's about the size of a plum. Arlo has long white hair and long white beard. He wears royal purple robes, brown sandals, and a brown belt. He starts by washing the windows, sweeping the floors, and he even rearranges the books and scrolls, making sure they're free of dust. Every day. Using magic, of course. He has a hoard of ancient artifacts and wonders from a lifetime of adventuring and collecting. Arlo's very old, very old. Many, many generations of men have lived and died, and Arlo has remained in this tall tower in the middle of the meadow. His wife, an elven woman, passed away long ago, and the only thing he wants is to bring her back. But none of his artifacts or trinkets or anything like that will bring her back. There is one thing, and that is necromancy, the dark art of undead. And Arlo has vowed to never practice that, because he's seen what happens when people fall into necromancy and decide to play God. Instead, Arlo decided to plant a lovely garden of wildflowers, pink, purple, white, his wife's favorite colors. He made them for her. It was his remembrance of her. Every day when he would wake up, he'd look outside from the tallest window, stepping out into his little balcony, and overlook his field of wildflowers, and think fondly of his wife. One day, while Arlo was sipping tea and having a light lunch, there was a knock at the door. 4 adventurers had come, seeking Arlo's counsel. They wanted information on a big threat in the realm. One of the adventurers decided to pick a bouquet of flowers from the fields in the meadow, unaware that the flowers were a tribute to Arlo's dead wife. Arlo, seeing the picked flowers, invited them all in, and invited them to a lunch and a spot of tea. Arlo decided to serve mutton stew for lunch that day. The adventurers were grateful and thankful, and they did talk a little bit about why they were here to visit him. Eventually, though, one by one, the adventurers fell ill and started feeling very strange. When they inquired, Arlo announced that picking the flowers is forbidden in his meadow, and now they must pay the price. Each one of them will be forced to tend to the gardens for the rest of their days. With that notification and announcement, the adventurers began to change. They were polymorphed into sheep, and all of their memories were wiped, and all of their desires were changed, and all they wished to do was munch on the sweet grass out in the meadow. Arlo smiled as the 4 adventurers became 4 more of his flock. He gestured and gently led them out to pasture to join the rest of the sheep in his meadow. Just how many of these sheep are ex-adventurers who dared pick Arlo's flowers? So I think that's about all we're gonna have for this video of Tiny Glade. I hope you've enjoyed. There may be another Tiny Glade video in the future, and Planet Coaster will be back with another episode of that adventure coaster very soon. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much. I appreciate it. I know your time is valuable, and I want to honor that. And hopefully you've had a good time with me today. Do consider subscribing. Have yourself a great day, great night, great whatever. And I'll see all of you for the next video on the channel. Take care, everyone, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.